Welcome, everyone, to the Inspirational Businesswoman Show. I'm so happy to have you here today. I have a wonderful guest. This is a fabulous topic for all you parents and grandparents that are concerned about your kids. We're going to be discussing life-saving tips for teens, a grandma's 25-year towing wisdom featuring Diana Woodward. And we'll be getting started with that in just a moment. I am so glad you're here. I'm Virginia Parsons, your host, and it really is my passion to provide you, the viewer, with a goldmine of inspirational tips, strategies, and advice to help you grow your business from inspirational businesswomen in the know. But today, we have something very special for all you inspirational businesswomen. We have a wonderful expert that's going to talk to you, as I said, about safety for your teens and driving. Now, before we get started, I want to say thank you for being here because I know your time's valuable, but this could be life-saving time for you today. So what I'd love is you would help spread the word about this important information that we're going to be getting out there today. I'm going to play the preview trailer. And as I do, all you have to do is click a share button and let other people know that they might want to catch this interview as well. And then we'll be getting started with the full interview right after that. So here goes the trailer. Now, today's show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a complimentary live stream marketing assessment. Now, why might you want to take that assessment? Well, it really will help guide you through all the aspects of live streaming, of getting more exposure for your business, and building a following so that you can really spread the word about what you do. So all you have to do to take that assessment is go to hangout-marketing.com, or you can text pound success to 775-800-4179. And that assessment will only take you a couple minutes, and you might even qualify for a complimentary From Unknown to Unforgettable Shine strategy session with me. So go ahead and take advantage of it, and I'll look forward to meeting with you in the future. All right, I think you can see that we're in for a real treat and some very important information. So let me get started by introducing Diana to you today. She's going to share insider tips on road safety for young drivers. And her educational website is called thedrivinggame.com. Diana is a 25-year towing professional committed to keeping kids safe on the road. And she will share shocking driving truths and insider tips every parent needs to keep their kids safe and alive. So today, Diana will be revealing, number one, the little-known danger of blind spots. Second, how to avoid unsafe roads that are known to kill. And finally, she's going to give a grandma's advice for parents of teen drivers. Now, Diana has owned a very successful tow company for over 25 years. and she really is acutely aware of the perils for our precious young drivers that they face on the road. And each call for a tow is a stark reminder of the risks involved in driving. And as a parent and grandparent with a 3-decade-long journey in transformational education, she has a unique outlook on this issue. Diana's goal is to ensure our children's and grandchildren's safety and to empower, educate, and protect our loved ones as they navigate the open roads of life. Diana, I'm so pleased to have you here. Unmute yourself, come on in and say hi to our audience, won't you?
Hi. Thank you so much, Virginia. This is awesome. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we love having you here. And when you contacted me and I heard about your topic, I said, oh my gosh, this is so needed. There's nothing like this out there that I'm aware of. And I'm just so pleased and honored to be able to offer this information to our viewers and hopefully spread it far and wide so that we really reach as many parents and young people as possible around this topic. So again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
I want to get started with your background because it's so unique. You know, 25 years owning a towing company, it's not something you necessarily would think of for a woman. I'm all for women exploring all areas and avenues of entrepreneurship, but this was one I hadn't heard of before. So I'd love to know a little bit about how did you get started in this industry in the first place?
Well, it actually goes back quite a way because I can remember when I was in my late teens or early 20s. I was listening to the radio, and there was a girl in Franklin Park, up by Franklin Park Zoo outside of Boston. And she had ran out of gas. And she was carrying gas back to her car. And 3 boys stopped her, poured the gas on her, and set her on fire. And of course, she was murdered.
Oh my gosh.
In that moment, I knew that I was never going to let my car go below a half a tank of gas.
That's one thing you learned.
I mean, it was like ingrained in me. It's just like never run out of gas. And then not long after, my stepdad was killed in a car accident. And I loved my stepdad. He was just one of those people that just I adored. He was great to me. I was 13 when I met him, and I was 21 when he was killed. So that's was 2 main things that really impacted me. But I never dreamed that, several years later, after I had moved to California, after having gotten divorced, I moved to California and I met a man in the singles group. And he had just started a tow company like a couple months before. And he asked me out. He was quite a bit older, hadn't gone out on a date for a long time. So I thought, well, it'll be a nice evening. So I went out to dinner with him, and we just hit it off. From that from that first date, we were together for the next 11 years. We were married like 3 months later.
Oh my gosh.
And he had just started a company in San Diego called 2-Bit Tow. And I was a workaholic, so I was just like thrilled to be part of his adventure because I could actually see he called it the McDonald's of towing, that it could have gone that big had I had more training in that arena. But we had the most fun in San Diego with the average tow company tows 300 to 400 cars a month. We were towing 3,000 to 4,000 cars a month. About 5 years after I'd been dispatching and talking to thousands and thousands and thousands of people to take their orders and hear their horror stories, the drivers were making like $5,000 to $7,000 a month. And here I'm in the office making minimum wage. And I said to my husband, I want to learn how to tow. I don't know why they keep complaining. So he actually taught me to tow, and I've actually towed about 2,000 cars myself. I've towed for about 3 or 4 years, and it was the funnest thing for me, especially when I towed women. They loved it when I was there because they were relaxed.
Well, that's first of all, that's a unique way to get started, but don't all of our careers evolve? We never are sure how they're going to evolve because they often aren't what we planned in the beginning, are they?
No, I had no idea. If you had asked me, 20 years ago, I'd be towing cars, I would have told you were crazy. I mean, I weighed 120 pounds at the time. And believe it or not, back then because this was in like 1982, 1983, I started towing around 1990. I was putting cars on with a hand winch, pulling up 3,000-pound cars with a hand winch. I was really strong.
You would have to be.
And it was really fun. But as the tow company grew, my husband, who had already been a Los Angeles motorcycle policeman, he had been a race car driver, and he was a stuntman in Bye Bye Birdie. And he was also magnificent with words. He'd also taken some college courses, and he wanted to write a driving book. And so he actually took a year off and went to our mountain cabin where he spent a year writing this driving book while I ran the company in San Diego.
That's huge. I want to interject here that first of all, because you stepped up and were running the company, he was able to do something that was very passionate, that he felt was going to make a huge impact. And you were able to, give him that opportunity. And so a year of writing this book, that's fascinating. So is that where this has evolved for you beyond the towing company? Because, your website is thedrivinggame.com, correct?
Yes.
So tell us about thedrivinggame.com and how that came about as a result of him writing this book.
Well, first of all, he wrote the book back in like 1989. And it was one of those things that the timing was never right. Other things got in the way. Well, he passed away in 2012. And this book, I have always been in love with this book. The way he words things, he is magical in how he words things. And it's so simplistic, yet so profound. And it makes so much sense. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've read this book because it's made a difference from my driving experience. I am a super safe driver given the tools and techniques he gave me. Plus, we drove around all the time owning a tow company. We drove everywhere together. We put over 1 million miles on our vehicles. When I retired, I knew I needed to be up to something. And I tried 2 or 3 different things, but I wasn't passionate about them. And then in the blink of an eye, I went, my God, I have this driving book. This has got to get out there. This is way too valuable. I get moved when I think about it.
Well, you feel it because that's what's so important about the passion that you're bringing to this.
Yeah.
Is that and I think let's pause for a moment and go back just for a second because of your experience. First of all, very young, before you know anything about this towing company, those experiences that you just talked about, but also some of the experiences you had as a tow operator that I'm sure had to have some impact on you as well, and also had something to do with why you're so passionate about this. Is there anything in there you want to bring to the surface at this point?
Oh, absolutely. I picked up a woman who was stranded in the left lane of the freeway. And of course, you cannot get out of your car. There's nowhere you can go. And I had to get so close to the center divider, I had to actually climb out my window to be able to hook up her car and get her out of danger. Being able to do that for someone is something it's hard to explain because all we ever did was rescue people. That's why we were so popular, because we never did impounds, we never did repossessions, we only rescued people.
Okay, and that's important right there.
Yeah.
That the focus of your business was to help people that were in need, and it wasn't about going and impounding vehicles. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Yeah. My husband's philosophy was most people only get towed once in their life. We want you to tell your friends.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
so the passion came for you after he had actually passed and you had really retired from your towing business and
yeah.
realized you had this amazing book, this amazing, valuable training guide for people so that they could be safe on the road, that would prevent, injury and death. And it was sitting there on the shelf collecting dust, right?
Yes, it was interesting because he actually, when he wrote the book, we didn't have computers. He did it on a typewriter. And I mean to tell you, I went through that, had people go through that and update it and correct it. And it took years and years and finally I took that and I just rewrote it myself and kept critiquing it and editing it and fixing it and adding pictures. And the more I worked with it, the more I knew it had to be out there. I sold my car to be able to put the book together. So because the selling my car gave me the funds to be able to make this happen. And what's interesting, Virginia, is after I got it, and I have it right here. So
There you go.
so I designed the cover. I got the cover. I got the graphics, and I just made it fun. I started sharing it with some friends. And one of the things that happened is a friend told me about another book she had, and she showed it to me, and it was called Staying Alive While Driving. And it says like the titles were so close. So I bought that book. And I'll tell you, if books could have soulmates, these two books together were like soulmates. What my husband didn't cover, this race car driver did. So I'm working with him to see how we can collaborate to make it even more successful, because the tips in both of these books are life-saving, no kidding.
Well,
And
and with your gift that we're going to be talking about in a little while, they're going to have a taste of it. And
yeah,
so I think that's really important. But let's move into the first topic, because we really want parents to pay attention here on some of the ideas that you want to share with people that could truly be life-saving. And my feeling is, as this show broadcasts, it goes out to thousands, if we can save one life, one injury, we've really done a service. And so I want to make sure that they get into some of the tips that you have to offer. So let's start with that one, the little known danger of blind spots. Tell
yeah.
us all about it.
All right. So just like cars have blind spots, humans have blind spots. There's things that we don't know, and we don't know them. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to see someone else do something that doesn't work? It's like, wow, if they just put on their blinker, they'd be a lot safer, but they can't see their own things that don't work. Doug's book focuses on human nature and the roads. These are the two major factors of his book. And humans, for the most part, one of the things that's hidden from your view is the fact that humans do not like their forward motion being interrupted. You don't have to trust anything I say, do your own due diligence, but yellow lights are an interruption to your forward movement. I think that's why so many people try to run them.
Uh,
And that is probably one of the most dangerous places for accidents. Like something like 33% of accidents happen at roads that meet, and people who are running red lights, and people who have kids in their car. We don't realize that when we're trying not to have to stop for that yellow light to make it through, our kids are watching what we're doing. It doesn't matter what we're saying. They're watching what we're doing. Their brain, another thing that's hidden from our view that we never pay much attention to, because our kids are so smart and educated and fun, and we don't realize that their frontal cortex is not developed. They don't have the same risk to reward judgment available to them. So they're just going to do what you do rather than try to figure it out, because they're just reacting. So one of the things that works the best is for you to train them. They need to be trained to stop at yellow lights, not try to beat it, not try to make it. It's just like, just have a habit of stopping, unless, of course, it changes right when you're ready to go into the intersection. But if you have to put your gas pedal down to speed up to make it, that's a habit that will put your kids in danger.
Got it. Now, would this also be similar to people that coast through stop signs?
It could be. I'm sure that, like if you're coasting through a stop sign at 3 a.m. in the morning and you can see all directions, if a policeman's there, they're going to give you a ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But coasting through a stop sign in the middle of the day, there's so many distractions. We can't watch every area at once. So if you're looking to be a safe driver, I would stop. Only takes 10 seconds of actual stopping to stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a habit that one benefits from if you're looking to be a safe driver.
Great. Are there any other blind spots? Because you're talking about mental blind spots here. Do you have any others you want to share?
Yeah, especially blind spots in communication. I've also been very fortunate that I found a company called Landmark Worldwide. It's a transformational company. And I have 30 years of rigorous transformational education. And one of the things that happens is we react. We are reaction machines. So when you're talking with your kids, we do not have a habit of actually listening to them. Because while they're talking, the automatic way human beings are is we're already forming our answer to what they're saying. If you're actually thinking about the answer to what's being said, who are you really listening to? You're not listening to them, because if you think about it, if you were really listening to them, you wouldn't be worrying about how you're going to answer it. You'd have more questions to figure out and see why they were thinking that way. So that opportunity is there to start asking questions about what they're saying so you can get a deeper understanding and they really experience being heard. And you open up that pathway where they experience being heard, you'll have a whole new relationship with your child.
Well, and this is important because what you're talking about is that you're setting an example that subconsciously, like if you run, a yellow light, subconsciously they're seeing that's the norm. That's how you do it. They're picking that up.
That's right.
But it's also to do with communication. It's how you teach your children to be aware and conscious around traffic, because you just can't ever anticipate what other people might be doing as well. So I think the communication blind spot is an important one. Listen to your kids and make sure that before you form an answer, you actually have listened to what they're asking, because they may be asking you something that could be life-saving as well.
Exactly.
So very important. Yeah.
And one of the things that comes up for me is I actually, when I was training my stepdaughter to drive, I took her to an empty parking lot. I actually had no clue how to train her to drive in an empty parking lot other than have her try to stay on the white line so she kind of had a sense of where her tires were. So if she saw a pothole coming up, she'd know her tires should try to move around that pothole not to hit it. But I had no clue. And these two books can really give you instruction on how to train them and what to be watching for and doing things like. One of the things that we have amazing ability for is our peripheral vision. But how do you train a kid or even yourself to use your peripheral vision to your advantage and keep you safe on the road? Well, these books will give you that information to actually start using that as a safety net. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just profound. Some of the tips that are in the book to keep our kids safe. We are sending our kids out on the road with what would be considered a basic introduction to golf. How professional do you think someone would be if all they did was take a basic course? And these kids' lives are at stake.
Very important. Very important. All right. Well, let's go into the second one then, because you said that there is something about unsafe roads that they need to know about that. And again, this is a parent communication thing, but how does one even know when a road's unsafe if you've never driven on it before? And I'm thinking about potholes. I mean, they can come up out of nowhere and you're driving down a road you've never been on and boom, one of those can pop up and really cause an accident. So how do you know where there's an unsafe road? How do you prepare yourself for that?
Well, first of all, there are well-known dangerous roads, like 2-lane highways are death traps. You have two vessels going at 50, 60 miles an hour. The impact, if one of them blows out a tire or goes in your lane or who knows what happens, there's a lot of times no place to move over. So you want to be extremely careful, as well as most people trust all the signs that are out there. You will be shocked how many signs are improperly mounted. When you're going down a country road, you could have some really great signs, a curve coming up, a curve going this way, a curve going that way. And so you feel pretty safe that they're going to give you a warning. And then you go 5 miles down the road and you're in another county, and that county doesn't mark curved roads. So all of a sudden you come across a deeper curve and you were not expecting it. So you want to go slower rather than fast on roads you're not familiar with, and not trust all those signs, because those signs are not always accurate. This is a true story. I came out of my office one day and a transportation man who was putting up signs actually put up a one-way sign going the wrong way on a frontage road on a freeway. So he was sending people to oncoming traffic. I jumped in my truck. I got on the freeway and honked and honked and honked and honked and honked at him and flashed my light to make him pull over. And he pulled over and I said, "You just put a one-way sign going the wrong way at this intersection." I said, "You got to go fix that right now." And he went immediately back and fixed it. But that could have killed someone. So just be alert to it. Be aware of it. There are streets, on-ramps, off-ramps in your area, most likely, that are not the safest. I am an experienced driver, and there's an on-ramp that I totally avoid because the traffic's coming at 70 miles an hour. The on-ramp is not even one car length long. You got to pretty much be going 70 miles an hour when you're entering this on-ramp. It's just like that does not work. And it's still that way today. You, as a parents, need to be paying attention so you can let your kids know, wait a minute, this is not the best route to take.
Well, I think absolutely you have to be part of their learning. You can't count on driver's ed to do it.
Nope.
For one thing, it's just as you say, that's beginning driving, and that's not helping them with the more experienced parts of driving. What else can you say that are roads that should be avoided? Because I think there are types that I know I'm not comfortable on, that I certainly wouldn't want a young driver to be on. What else are you thinking is really dangerous?
Well, first of all, parking lots. Believe it or not, parking lots are, the good thing about parking lots is if you do have a fender bender, no one's usually injured. Mostly the car is damaged. I see people driving through a parking lot. They don't look left or right when a row is coming up or an aisle is coming up, or they're just blinded. They're negligent in making sure there's other drivers in the parking lot. It's like they think they're the only one there. So parking lots, you have to really pay attention in parking lots. Also, another place that is rather dangerous and happens very often is when you're in two left lanes taking a left turn lane. That car in the left lane has a tendency when they're turning left to go into the right-hand lane. And if the person that's in the right-hand lane taking that left-hand turn isn't watching for them, the chances are really high that there's going to be an accident. So you need to be extremely careful if you're the one in the right-hand turn taking that left turn.
I would agree. I've experienced that myself, where actually I've both sides. I've been in a left-hand turn, and it's a very tight turn. It's tighter than you would anticipate. It's not even like a 90-degree, and you just really have to stay focused on staying in your lane. And I've had the exact same thing, being in the right hand of the left turn and having someone start to merge in with me,
Yeah,
especially if it's a truck.
Exactly. Another thing that most people aren't aware of is if you're at a stoplight, let's say a four-way stoplight, and you're in your car, and on your left is a tow truck, for example, or even a FedEx truck or UPS or any bigger vehicle, and the light turns green, you should never start pulling out until that vehicle that's bigger than you starts to go, because he may not have started to go because someone's running that yellow light that he can see, but you cannot.
Oh,
So
good point.
So if you step on it, you might be the one that's getting rammed, right? There's a reason he may not have started out. So you want to be aware of that. And most people don't give that a thought. They just think he's, being slow. But if you're, again, looking to be a safe driver, those are the little things that will make the difference in keeping you uninjured and alive.
So very important. I'm just curious, what about those roads that I see where the turn lane is actually could be turning from either direction coming at you? It almost looks like what I would think like a 3-lane road, where the center lane is either side can turn from.
Exactly. And they're all over the place. And again, you just have to be super. Look, anytime you're in the car, you want to make sure that you have your full attention on driving. It makes a profound difference. And we are living in a world today that we are constantly distracted. Constantly. I mean, there's books on it now that how distracted we are. And there's three ways that we're distracted in our car. One is visual. In other words, anytime you take your eyes off the road where you're going, that is a visual distraction. If you see a cute guy or a cute girl riding down the road and you want to see them, or you just took your eyes off the road. Other one is cognitive. Even though you might have the headset, so you're still hands free. When you're talking with someone, either in the car or on the phone, your cognitive mental state is on that now, not on the road. And the third one is a manual distraction. You're changing the radio or you're trying to text. And that's why texting is one of the worst things you can do, because it takes all three of those distractions to be able to text. You have to have your eyes off the road, you're cognitive, you're thinking about what the text is about, and you're working a device. So all three distractions are happening at once, which multiplies the danger tremendously. So you really need to put either one of those apps on your kids' phones that doesn't allow calls to come in while you're driving, which is probably one of the best things they ever invented, right? And make sure that they abide by it.
These are just wonderful tips. I hope you're all really taking some notes about this and things that you can share with your kids and nieces, nephews, grandkids that could make a big difference in their lives. So I really appreciate you sharing all this today, Diana. I'm just wondering what in your experience as a tow driver have you found has been the biggest life-threatening, behavior that young people tend to exhibit more than mature drivers?
For the most part, young people like to have other kids in the car with them. They have that telephone or cell phone, or they want the music loud. Again, they're all distractions. And again, we're living in a universe that is constantly distracting us. So you want to focus on keeping the distractions as limited as possible for their safety, because they can make those calls, they can send those texts, they can listen to music when they're not in the car. That is just a big no-no. You know what I mean? The problem is that the basics are so easy for driving. Our kids are fooled into believing they know something about driving that they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they won't be good drivers for a minimum of 2 to 3 years. And that's one of the things my husband focuses on in his book, is just really having them get to the world of they will not be a good driver for at least 2 or 3 years.
What about that safe space in front of the driver? What is the guidance on that? Because I've always understood that that's the one thing you control in staying safe. Could you talk about that a bit?
Oh, I can tell you from experience that even though Doug always thought I was a good driver when I met him, he made me an even better driver, because I was one of those people that was guilty of following too close. And if you watch and you look, the overwhelming of people follow too close. And when you follow too close, one little misstep and everybody's involved in it. So keeping that safe distance is critical. You need to have a place that you're always aware of. If anything happened, I can go there. You know, you don't want to wait till it happens. You want to be preparing for, because as you know, that's why they call them accidents. They happen quickly, they happen fast, they happen often. And you want to know where you're going to go if something happens that shouldn't be happening. You want a safe space out.
What is that safe space approximately, depending on the speed you're going?
Yeah, yes. And fortunately or unfortunately, if you actually follow the legal distance, you could get a ticket for, holding up traffic or whatever they do. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's kind of ironic that if you're keeping a safe space, it might be inhibiting traffic. So there's a fine line between what the law is and what's going to keep you safe. But one of the great things that my husband also talks about is never, never, never be in the fast lane of a highway if it doesn't have an effective center divider. If you're depending your life on a painted line going down the middle of the road to keep a car off your side of the road, you are in for trouble because anything goes wrong, there's nothing to protect you. So always know your center divider.
So that's going back to the 2-lane road and why that's probably the most dangerous kind of road that you can be on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, these are all such great ideas. Now, I know one of the things you also wanted to go a little beyond what you had already touched base on in talking to parents, and that is that you just want to give a little advice to parents of teen drivers that they're going to feel that their kids are safer on the road. What do you have to share about that?
Well, if you can afford it, always get them advanced driving lessons. I'm also, and you were talking about why the driving book is called How to Drive and Stay Alive. However, the website is called the driving-game.com, right? And I made it the driving game because I'm adding other things to it. It's not just about the book. I'm actually putting videos together, these training videos. So if you can't afford to send them to, say, a racing school or an advanced driving school, we'll have available videos to be able to show you, how to properly put your seatbelt on, how far you should be from your steering wheel because of the airbags. If you're too far back, your airbag is going to be useless. If you're too far close, it could knock you out. There's just all kinds of tips and tricks that you can learn that will make a profound difference. And the driving game, as I'm building it, will give you this access to how to stay safe on the roads. Once you start researching this, there are so many people out there to keep your kids and families alive.
Well, and that's the objective, right?
Yes.
Because there's nothing more exciting for a young person, a teenager, than getting their driver's license, and they just don't have the experience yet. So that's, as a parent, I know we all worry about our children particularly in those first years that they're driving. And there's weather conditions to consider as well. So all of these tips I think are valuable, and it doesn't hurt that we as adults go back and review some of these things too. because we may have gotten complacent. And so in reviewing them, then you can share them with your kids as well. So it's a win-win situation, certainly, to be talking to parents. Anything else you want parents to know from your own experience as a tow truck driver and as an operating of a tow company, as a parent and a grandma? What else do you have to share with the parents?
Listen to your kids. Your kids are so smart. An interesting little story. Doug, he had 5 kids and he had an older car. And that's one of the reasons he started a tow company, because he knew when someone broke down, it can be devastating to one's pocketbook when you have a family. Well, they were going from, I think it was like Nebraska, going to California to visit his mom. And when they were on the road, they were going up this hill and his car wouldn't make it. His car was not making it up the hill. And his daughter says, "Well, Dad, it goes good backwards." And he went, "Oh, wow." He turned the car around and backed it over the hill. Our kids are brilliant. Listen to them. Pay attention to them. Get them. Have them experience you've heard them. That's the best advice I can give you.
Oh, that's great. Now, you had a couple of photos that you wanted to share that had some stories behind them. Did you want to bring those up?
Sure. One of the main focuses behind Doug's book, Human Nature and the Roads, because the roads are dangerous if you don't know what to be watching for. And his book covers way more than what we covered today. So you want to find out what are those other things that can get you into trouble. Another thing is traffic lights. As I was saying earlier, humans do not want their forward motion interrupted. This little gadget that we use all over the world wants to interrupt our forward flow. So it is a death trap. Because if you don't respect that yellow light, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So start respecting that yellow light and stop taking chances if you want to be considered a safe driver. One of the last things are traffic signs. Be aware that not all signs are properly marked. I was riding down the road one night. I worked 3 to 11, and it was very fortunate that I worked 3 to 11 because I was invited to a party, and it was about midnight. By the time I got out of work and got in my car, etc., I was riding down the road, and it was an unfamiliar road, and I was only doing maybe 35, and all of a sudden, I caught the glimpse of a stop sign. I slammed on my brakes because there was a branch covering the stop sign. And even at 35 miles an hour, I was on the other side of a 4-lane highway before my car stopped. And if it had not been midnight, that would have been devastating. There would have been multiple lives cost. And so you got to even watch out for branches, trees covering, bushes covering stop signs. Be aware that nature is covering a lot of these signs. And if you see one, let your authorities know so they can take care of it, because it could save someone's life.
Oh, that is so true. I had a similar experience where a stop sign was covered by a tree that had not been trimmed. And I didn't know that there was a stop sign there. And it was a similar thing where I went through it. Fortunately, I was turning at the same time. No one was coming, but it could have been devastating.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So how do you report those things?
I would call the Department of Transportation. If they don't manage it, then they'll let you know who to call. So someone needs to take some action to prevent those kinds of tragedies.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to know about that. Department of Transportation, excuse me, in your local area makes absolute sense. So I hope you are all really taking some notes here today, because we really want to help spread the word to other people who might not have thought about some of these issues and some of the safety issues that we can, as parents and grandparents, help support and keep our kids safe on the road. Now, I know, Diana, you do have a gift for everyone that's going to help expand their awareness and something they can also share with their kids. So I'm bringing up a slide here that gives you the link to Diana's gift. And so all I like to do is go to shinetips.com/Diana gift. Shinetips.com/Diana gift. I'm saying it a couple times in case you're listening to this rather than looking at it. So Diana, while I leave this up here for people to go and get the gift, I'm also going to put it in the comment section. Tell them what you've got for them.
All right, well, you're going to get the first 2 chapters of the How to Drive and Stay Alive book, as well as the scorecard. The scorecard, anytime you're playing a game, you need to know if you're making moves that are going to increase your life expectancy or decrease your life expectancy. And the scorecard will give you hints to how to improve your safety on the roads.
Wow, that's great. That's an extra bonus. I didn't know that you would be providing a scorecard. So you're going to get the first couple of chapters and a scorecard from the book. You want to hold the book up for everyone to see it?
Sure.
How to Drive and Stay Alive. And this is your husband has passed away, Douglas E. Woodward, who had decades of experience. There he is. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Well, again, if you want to pick that up, just go to shinetips.com/Diana gift. Diana, it's been wonderful to have you here today. How do we wrap this all up in a big bow for people? What are your final words of wisdom you want to make sure people take home with them today?
Live your passion. I am passionate about this. I am on a mission to keep our kids and families alive on the roads. I don't want anyone to get that call that tells them someone they love is no longer with us because of a foolish mistake. And that's what I'm up to. But you have your own passion and live your passion, because you'll be thrilled with what shows up around you and in your life when you are out to accomplish what you want to in the world.
Oh, how beautiful for all of you entrepreneurs out there. That's what it's about. If you're an entrepreneur, you really are moving and living through your passion. And as a result, having a bigger impact, making a bigger difference in the world. So such wonderful words of wisdom as well from Diana. Diana, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And I want to thank all of you as well. Go out and help spread the word, and let's keep our kids safe and alive. Thank you again, Diana. And we'll see you all on the next Inspirational Businesswoman show. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Businesswoman show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.